Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Development Crop Control and Regulatory Board, Thursday the 10th of August 2017. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting and will also be available for viewing on the County Council website after the meeting. May I also please introduce Ruth Lee on my far left, who is the new Planning and Highways Solicitor. So, welcome. Okay. Moving on. Today we have two substitutes. Mr. Bentley is subbing for Mr. Gillard, and Mrs. Seaton is subbing for Bill Licorice. Moving on to the agenda itself, item number 1, minutes of the meeting held on the 13th of July 2017. Are there any comments or questions on that? Yep. Thank you very much. That's moved and seconded then, Ewan. Item number 2, question time. We received no questions. Item 3, questions asked by members under standing orders, with no members' questions either. Item 4, to advise of any other item which as the chairman decided to take. I haven't any. Item number 5 is declaration of interest. I would also say that it is noted that all members who are members of parish, town or district council or liaison committees will have personal interests in those applications which relate to areas covered by those authorities. Are there any other declarations to declare at this time? That's none. Presentation of petitions. With no petitions, we already received no petitions. Moving on to the guts of the meeting then, item number 7, which is on page 7 to 28. Lonnick, would you present the item, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'll do that. Yes, this is a proposal by eSynergy Developments Limited at a site at the Asford Business Park. The first plan I'm showing you is a location of the park, just to the east of Melton. Now, this is a west of Melton. Sorry, beg your pardon. This is a former mine site. Those of you who remember Asford coal mine, the area that used to be part of the coal mine is now an established industrial estate, and this company is taken over this building here, which was an old run-of-mine stock shed that was owned by the previous coal mining activities. As I said, this is a now well-established industrial estate, and aerial photograph there just demonstrates what the layout of the industrial estate is like. It's developed over a number of years, and this unit here is the one that the proposal is being put forward for you to consider today. This is a waste recycling plant that's being proposed primarily to deal with recycling of fridges and associated equipment to do with that, vending machine, air conditioning units, so on and so forth. You'll see from the report that the process within the building is quite a technical process, and in some ways it's not that important for you to know the exact details of the process other than to understand what the impacts might be in land use planning terms. The Environment Agency will control the processes in terms of its permitting regulations and requirements. So from the plan that you see now, it's not a very clear plan, but the building is sort of sat in the middle of the site there. The access road is from this end, and waste will be brought in to the building. All the processing will be done within the building. There are mechanical and chemical processes going on here, and then there are some manual processes on this side. So the material will be treated and shredded and then recycled. There's also a proposal to put in a number of porta cabins in due course. These are for storage and for office development. The throughput is proposed to be 29,000 tonnes per annum and no more than 1,000 tonnes on site at any one time. The proposal is accompanied by an environmental statement, particularly concerning drainage and highway issues. The total movements in and out this site are estimated to be 82 movements per day. 44 of those are heavy goods vehicles and the rest are from staff. And you'll see from the consultations that there are no objections from the consultees, but there was a representation, two representations from one individual relating to noise, emissions, heavy goods routing and hours of operation. From the assessment, you'll see that a location like this for this type of facility is probably a very good one. This is in the middle of an industrial estate. It's well away from residential areas. It's a building that's been established for some time there. And you also note that it is partly retrospective. The company have moved in there. This is an established B2 facility, and the company moved in there doing an industrial process, but it's only when they wanted to sort of look at exactly what they were doing in terms of additional facilities that it came to light that it really should be a separate planning permission, because it's a waste facility and it falls out of that use class. There are arguments up and down the country that waste should be an industrial process, which it is, but because of the permitting requirements and other controls, it's come to us for you to consider. So just to give you an insight of what the site looks like, that's the building there, a very large building, as you can see, and already there are materials being stored ready to go into the building. Within the building there is a very small incineration plant, and there's the chimney stack that is coming out of it. Again, there are here materials waiting to be recycled. These look like air cooling units, and again part of the recycling process is to deal with the insulating material, the foam panels that go along with these facilities. Again, it looks like fridges ready to go in. Inside the building there are some mechanical processes along one side, and there are sorting of the material within the other side of the building. And just here you can make out is the small incineration plant that is referred to in the report, with a stack above. So those are sort of a description of the site. And I say this is an industrial site with very little limits in terms of what can and can't be done on the site. The assessment says that because of the processes are all contained within inside the building, they are controlled by the Environment Agency in terms of the processes. Vehicle movements are relatively small in comparison to what could come out of this building as a B2 use. And the only issue I think that has arisen is about traffic routing. I don't think any other facility on this site is restricted or controlled in terms of routing of vehicles, but the company are prepared to enter into an agreement. And if I just go back to the plan, I'll just give an indication. This is the site here, and the proposal is to route traffic out of the industrial site and along St Bartholomew's Way, which runs along here onto the A606. So really avoiding traffic coming down, particularly around Asfordby Hill, and maybe through here, but primarily along here. So that is the one of the stipulations we were going to be asked for, and the company have agreed to route that. It was part of the original consents when the mine finished and it was turning into an industrial use. The County Council gave temporary consents for industrial uses on the basis of some routing agreement, but that was overturned by the Borough Council when they gave a general permission for industrial uses on this site with very limited restrictions on what people can do. So in that context, Chairman, the recommendation is as before you, with proposal to enter into a legal agreement for the routing of the vehicles as shown on the plan. Thank you, Chairman. Oh, sorry, Chairman, one more item. Mr. Orson, a local member, has made some comments, and his observations are that he notes the recommendations in the officer's report. He welcomes the willingness of the applicant to enter into a legal agreement for the routing, and would urge members to ensure that that is put in place as part of your decision. Thank you.
Okay, Lonnie, thank you for that presentation. Questions? Anybody? Mrs. Taylor.
Just a couple of questions. The photographs that were up there from 2016, is that the correct date, or are they up-to-date photos that you were taking?
Correct. No, correct.
They're from this year, are they not from 2006?
That's the right date.
No, that's the right date.
So we've got no sort of up-to-date photos. They're a year out of date. The
No,
photos
that's exactly how it looks like today.
Okay. Second question is, there is controls on the amount of tonnage that's allowed in and out, or in throughput, 29,000 tonnes per annum. How is that going to be monitored?
As part of the, there are due controls here. They are required to note how much tonnages go in. There's a weighbridge, and as part of the permitting operations, they have to record how much weighs, because it is tightly controlled, not only by us but by the Environment Agency as well. It won't be council officers standing there every day counting how many go in, but they will have records, and we can call on those records at any time. One of the reasons for the limitation, my understanding, is that because of the nature of the waste, is that that's a threshold below the sort of nationally significant infrastructure project type of activity. So we might go to a different body for determination if it's beyond that limit.
Okay. Mr. Bolter.
Very briefly, Chair, on page 11, item number 14, various tonnage put on goods to be stored there. How's he going to monitor that? I can tell how long fridges have been removed and metal removed from the cycle in 6 months. How are you going to tell that?
Chairman, I don't think we will be monitoring those particular aspects, because there is a dual control in terms of the permitting. This is a description of what will happen in terms of the proposal. What we're concerned is what we can control in land use terms. So a lot of these processes will be controlled through the permit in terms of what's stored, for how long, and so on and so forth. So that's what they're describing, is what they will do in order to meet the requirements of the permitting regulations.
So that will be done through the Environment Agency?
Correct, Chairman. Yep.
It doesn't state that in the paperwork, does it?
No, Chairman, it doesn't, but the conditions that you've got before you are the ones that we can impose in terms of the planning controls that we can legitimately put, which makes the development acceptable on the land use terms. There are the processes themselves, because they're technical and because they're waste, are matters for the agency, and I think the assumption has to be from you members is that the other regulators will do their job.
The recommendations on page 23, if there are no other comments, we'll move to the vote then. All in favour? Thank you. That looks to be unanimous, I think. Ewan?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, move on to item number 8 then, please. That's a composting site presented by Amelia. Would you present it?
Thank you, Chairman. Just before Amelia does introduce the report for you, I'd just like to bring members' attention just to a couple of corrections in the report, if I may, just for the matter of record.
Yeah.
On page 34, Chairman, at paragraph 20, there is a paragraph there. The penultimate sentence in that paragraph reads, "A low concrete wall is proposed along the southern and western edge of the concrete pad." The word western, in fact, should be eastern, because if you read the following sentence, it does then say, which is correct, the maximum height of the wall would be 60 metres on the southern boundary and 40 centimetres on the eastern boundary. So the western should read eastern, Chairman. That's the first correction. And the second correction is on page 44 at paragraph 73. And I request, Chairman, that the last sentence of that paragraph be taken out of the report, so it could strike out where it says no comment or objection from the Highway Authority has been made in this respect. And the reason for that, Chairman, is that the proposal as submitted did not put forward any changes to the limits already imposed on the previous consent for highway movements. Having said that, and that's why you see no observations from the Highway Authority in the report, because there's no need to consult them, because there's no change to the highway regime on this proposal. Having said that, we have checked anyway with the Highway Authority, and their view is, provided the same controls are put in place, that they wouldn't have an objection to this proposal. So, Chairman, on that basis, I'll let Amelia take you through the report.
Thank you.
So this application is for the extension.
You have to go forward to this. Sorry.
So this application is for the extension of existing green waste composting site, Beech Tree Farm, near the village of Sproston in the borough of Melton, by A.R. Birch and Son. So as you can see, the site is located in the south of the village of Sproston, northeast of the village of Buckminster. And so this image really just shows the proximity to the village and the nearest properties, which are located just to the northwest at the Nook and Coston Road, which is approximately 430 metres away. So here is an aerial view of the photograph as existing, which shows you the weighbridge area and turning area for vehicles, and the existing composting pad, which is located here, existing soil band and the hedge adjacent to. This is an unnamed road off the main Sproston-Buckminster Road. So this is the proposed extension to the south of the existing site, which is approximately 20 metres by 40 metres. So it's an increase in 800 metres squares, which is approximately a 40% increase in area, and is proposed to extend the soil band around the extension area. So here is the proposed extension in plan form and cross section. So here you can see this is the existing area, and this is what the proposed extension would look like. And this cross section just shows that the composting pad would fall towards the southeast, and any liquid produced as part of the process would be captured by a low wall, which would be installed on the southern and eastern boundaries. This wall would have the greatest height of 40 centimetres and 60 centimetres on either side, seeing as the ground is falling. So it's proposed that operations on site would continue as existing, where material would be dropped off into site and contaminants would be picked out prior to shredding. So this is a view of the composting pad once you're already inside the site down the access road. Material is placed in these heaps for composting and rotated until a final product is produced. This is a view from this is existing site here, looking towards the eastern boundary of the site, which is screened by this existing hedge and a low soil band. And this is a view from outside on the Buckminster Road, looking into the site, and as you can see, the site is well screened by this large hedge. Once material is turned into a final product, it is spread onto the applicant's land when the correct crop window is available. There have been several representations, all of which were objections, and these are detailed on page 39. And there's also been one objection from a statutory consultee, which is Buckminster Parish Council, and these are addressed in the report. I think that's everything.
Thank you, Amelia. Apparently there's no representations from Councillor Byron Rhodes, who covers this area. We do have one speaker this afternoon, Mr. Craig Birch, and he has 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Birch, would you like to just sit over there, please? And Ewan will time you with the 3 minutes, and if you just remain there when you finish speaking, just in case any councillors ask for clarification on what you've said, not on the agenda item, the report, just on what you say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We've been successfully composting on this site since 2006 and are asking for a small extension to our composting area with no alteration to any other conditions. We have always farmed in the village, and the composting operation has helped during this time to create a more sustainable business by reducing the need for bought-in fertiliser. Soil is our most precious resource, and the compost helps us improve this for ourselves and future generations. It helps prevent soil erosion and creates a healthy, more productive soil. We are located on the edge of Melton Borough Council, Rutland County Council and South Kesteven District Council, and the extension would allow us to accommodate this material from these locally adjacent councils. These contracts are awarded on a combination of price and distance, so by winning these contracts we have proved that we are in close proximity and competitive, which saves money for local councils and reduces transportation distance. The number of deliveries allowed to the site will remain the same. Also, the site layout remains the same, so the lorries would continue using the existing entrance which exit directly onto the county's lorry route network. Extending our site will utilise the existing entrance, roadways and weighbridge, so expanding the existing sites in this way is in line with policy WCS3 and WCS4. We've been running our site for 10 years now and know how to manage our site effectively, and for the majority of this time we've had no complaints. However, since applying for planning we have received a few. These have been looked into by the Environment Agency and relevant bodies, with unplanned visits along with our regular checks. Following these visits, no concerns were raised with odour, noise, dust or contamination. As our compost is all used on our own farm, for our own peace of mind, the quality of the finished compost is always far in excess of any other I have seen. Also, as our site is over 430 metres from the nearest houses, all these potential issues are easily mitigated. We have tried to keep this extension small and modest in order to reduce or eliminate any potential harm. However, it will produce many benefits in terms of efficiencies and cost savings for local councils, a more viable composting business, benefits to our farm and its soil and the wildlife, and a wider environmental benefit in helping tackling climate change. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Birch. Are there any questions? Mr. Volter?
Thank you, sir. I had some complaints recently since you put the application in. That's not unusual. You said there was dust, about dust, which was discounted. What about smell?
The odour was one of the ones that they came on site, and the Environment Agency said that it was just smelt like healthy compost, and and they came at the Environment Agency came at an unplanned visit, and that was when we were actually turning the material, so it's your worst time potentially, and they'd got no concerns.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Birch, you say a small increase, and yet in the report it says 800 metres square, or 40%. Is that correct, or are you saying it's smaller than that?
I was saying it's 40% increase in size, but it's the extension itself is going to be 20 metres extra onto the site, and it's at the width of the existing compost site. So, in effect, when you look at it from long distance views, it's coming. You won't actually perceive it as too much. And basically, the just to clarify on the tonnages at the moment, for example, because we're restricted to say about 8,000 tonnes. If out of those contracts a contract comes up and then we can't take that contract, then in a few months' time we end up losing another one, then you're sort of in a bit of a limbo. Whereas if you could, it's not necessarily that we're going to have all those contracts at the same time, but it'd really benefit us to be able to at least bid for the contracts all at this, so that we can, if we miss one, we get, so you're not, because we did go for a period of about 6 months where there was one contract come up, we couldn't put in for it because it would have put us over our tonnage. Then we, so we didn't get that one. Then we lost another one a little while after. It was a few years ago, but we went for about 6 months where we got very little material on site, and it was basically because it was hard to manage those contracts, whereas this hopefully would give us that leeway. Okay.
Any further questions?
Thank you, Chair. Because it's compost and not fertiliser, I assume that the smell is quite negligible anyway from the site. But the bit that did concern me, before you do the final shredding on there, you remove contaminants. So what sort of contaminants would you be removing?
Basically, all green waste. When you take the material in, there's always a certain degree of contaminants.
I.e. plastics?
Plastics, yeah.
That have missed the...
Yeah, or just, although the problem is, there's always a certain level. So what we try and do is, when it comes in, we sort it the best we sort it as it comes in, and then when we move it, we'll pick it. And then...
Could you just stop them? Just the solicitor would like us to say something.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'll speak loudly. That question, in fact, not related to anything that the speaker himself said, and just in terms of the procedure for the meeting, you're able to ask that question. It may well be a question that comes out in the form of the debate that the officers could help you with, but just for the gentleman's information, you're not required to answer.
It's okay, I don't mind answering it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did say that it was clarification on what the gentleman had said, rather than...
It was actually the film that said that.
Ah,
Yes,
right.
Mr. Gentleman, so I do apologise.
Yes,
Are there any more questions for Mr. Birch? No, Mr. Birch, you're free to go. Would you just put the light off, please? Thank you. Okay, we'll open Mr. Bentley.
Well, I can't see any harm that this is going to do, and in fact I think it should be encouraged. I'm very, very happy to propose officer recommendation on this one.
Second that, Chair.
Did you want to speak, Dan, or you just seconding it?
Other than to say, Chairman, it does seem appropriate. It seems entirely appropriate in what they're doing, and it seems nice and tidy and well presented. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Taylor, you wanted to...
Just a quick question. Is the amount that they're going to produce, the extra, they're going to be using it on their own land? Have they got the amount of land that can take that amount of compost that they're producing?
Chairman, I believe they do have. They have quite substantial amounts of land, certainly in excess of 250 hectares, if not more. So there is sufficient material, and they've been doing it for a number of years now. And my understanding from the applicant is that yes, they have sufficient room.
Michael.
Chair, before I speak, can we have a look at the rest of the slides that you flipped through very quickly, please?
Is it the photographs you would see?
Just all of them. We haven't seen them.
That's it.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it seems very sensible. I mean, it says since 2009 there's been no issues with odour, and well-made compost doesn't give an odour, so I can't see much of a problem. And I take that conditions 18 and 19 will ensure that there is absolutely no commercial operation at this site, which was the concern in 2010 when it was refused. And that was my only concern, really, that this doesn't become a commercial operation, but otherwise it looks great.
If there are no more comments or questions, we'll move to the vote then, please. It's the recommendations on page 23, which has been moved and seconded. All in favour? It looks as though that's unanimous again. Right, there's just a couple of items left. Item 9. Any other items which the chairman has decided to take? Well, we haven't any urgent items. And number 10, item 10 is chairman's announcements. Well, it's the same as usual. Thank you very much for coming.